How's the coffee compare to what you're used to?
Uh, it's a big step down.
Yeah,
We've got really good coffee in the men's basketball office,
that's nice.
but that's I get to pick what I like, so it's pretty good, and we grind it. It's good, but right now it's working. This is sufficing quite nicely.
Done its job.
So, but great to be here. Appreciate all you guys being here. It's Big Ten Media Day. It means it's close. It means it's the start of the start to. I always look at it as when I'm meeting with you guys, it's the start of the season, and I'm excited about this group. I don't pay a great deal of attention to preseason rankings or any of that, but I will say I think it speaks volumes to what people think of our program, and that means something. Yeah, it gives us something that we've got to shoot for, and we've got to get chemistry right, guys on the same page. We got to get tougher. All those things I can go back to and talk to our group about, but it's here, and looking forward to uh, playing in the best league in the country. I say that all the time. It's unbelievable how hard every venue is to play, how good the coaching is, how good the players are. The league's obviously a little bit different. We lost great players. We saw players make substantial jumps from their freshman year to their sophomore year. I mean, some of the greatest jumps in college basketball in a long, long time. And obviously, that paid off for those young men as they went to the draft. But we're going uh, to say I've gone through rosters and looked at everybody's rosters, I have not. But I know I sit here and walk around today and see Cliff and see Trace and it snaps back pretty quickly how good some of these players are in this league, and we'll have to play very well to win again in this league. So um, exciting! It's here.
Coach, I know you have a lot of respect for Fran McCafferty and what he's done, kind of changing a lot of what they do. Like, how much did you look at that? Like, how much of that was a model for you?
Well, Fran's one of the best coaches in our league and one of the best coaches in the country, and Fran probably doesn't get near enough credit for the development of his guys, I'm scary to think about what Chris can be, Murray, uh, but I thought they were the best team in the league at the end of the season last year. Unfortunately, they had the same outcome we did in the tournament 2 years ago. Uh, but they were good. They were very, very hard to match up with. Their versatility was a problem. I think we look at uh, not having size like we've had, um, and he's a pretty good picture window to what that success looks like. And we may go about it a little bit differently, but the concepts are there. And I thought they were Final Four good last year had they been able to escape one of those early round games.
Coach, what does it say about the growth of the program that expectations are still so high despite losing all of those starters, despite losing a first team All American?
I, you know, I think there's some respect there. I think we've done it for 3 years. That doesn't mean anything for this year, but I think that a great staff has put together a very good recruiting class. That's not just the freshmen, the portal included, and we've got to go out and put those pieces together. But I think we've been very fortunate to have some success, and it means a lot to me that people think that highly of us again, no matter who we have in the uniform. So we've got to go out and prove it now. It's just preseason.
Where you at now compared to where you were when you first came into the job?
Well, we were 14th when I got the job, sitting at these things. So yeah, I think we've come a long way, and that doesn't just happen because I'm sitting here. That's the last I'm the last reason, to be honest. It's great synergy when you got an athletic director giving you new facilities, and we're moving into a new practice facility, and we can sell winning now, and yet you've got you got to go out and prove it in this league every year. Everybody's got a lot in this league, and yeah, it's nice to not be picked toward the bottom, and we've still got to play hungry. We've still got to play with a chip on our shoulder, and that's never going to go away. I hope, as long as I'm the coach here.
But you talk about this league being as strong as it is. Is it stronger this year than it was last year, with guys returning to Indiana, to Michigan, and then you guys just reloading, having a strong team picked to be at the top as well? It seems like the teams at the top are even stronger than they were last year.
Potentially, I think so. I know this. I look at the job Micah did at Penn State coaching, and the players he's got back. They're going to be very good. Here at Minnesota, I mean, my goodness, they're going to be improved and they're going to be better. Chris is one of the best coaches in the league at Northwestern. You look at Fred's uh, uh, run at the end of the season last year; will be something he can build off of. So I think it's teams that maybe have been toward the lower end are making big jumps, and I think that you've got obviously a stacked team in Indiana. You've got Zach Edey back at Purdue. You've got Hunter back at Michigan. You've got Go Rutcliffe and their group at Rutgers. And the job Fran does, they could be, I think, as good as anybody in the league, and nobody's talking about them. You got Kevin at Maryland. They're going to be loaded. So I'm Jim. I'm right there with you. I think the league's loaded. And I think it's going to be better than ever.
Fred Coleman talked earlier with us about the atmosphere inside your building every day, and he said when you don't have egos, that good things can happen. How do you try to go about assembling all the pieces, parts that you've assembled to fit with what you want in your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're fairly selective in our recruiting. Um, Winning is really important. Winning's really important, and we've got two guys from Baylor. They won a national championship. Terrence came from an elite eight program. When there's an element of winning, there's usually an element of teamwork and acceptance of teammates. Does everybody have to find their own niche? Yes. And I want a little bit of swagger. I want a little bit of cocky. But this is a group that cares about winning. They care about each other. We're really competitive on the court, and we've had some chippiness on the court, but it doesn't translate to the locker room. And to me, that's the perfect situation.
Terrence talked about keeping in touch with you guys, that when he made his first choice, it wasn't good luck. It was best of luck. Because, the door didn't close on that relationship. I guess how fitting is it that now he is on your team?
Yeah, well, I'm not one of those guys. When I think winning's really hard, and if somebody doesn't want to be a part of your program, I'm not angry. I don't get mad in the recruiting process when I lose a recruit and get on somebody's butt and wish them to fail. That's not who I am. I want everybody to succeed. And so I wish him well, and he went to play for Chris Beard, who's a good friend and have known for a long time, and yet when the situation did change and it came upon us, the opportunity to welcome him back home, he felt it was the right fit, and so relationships play a big piece of recruiting and coaching today, and I'm glad that he thinks that relationship was special for him to want to come back.
Brad, you've said you're a lot further ahead defensively than offensively. What are the steps on offense that you need to see between now, start of the season, now, and where you want to go?
Yeah, I think we'll start seeing some of that when we see other jerseys and we see other schemes and we see other guys and knowing. We had a day yesterday where we scrimmaged 4-minute games and 4-minute segments, and we're looked at a lot of different lineups, and we're starting to see that where opportunities are coming. Guys early weren't having a ton of success because we were just playing in very general terms. and fundamentals. Now we're starting to isolate them in areas where they can be successful and play off those things. So we're getting there. But you know, I think here the next couple weeks, even you know some of these early season games, we're still trying to figure out what's best for every player and what fits all the pieces to the puzzle just right.
I know TJ seems to be taking a leadership role. We talked about how is Matt kind of fit to this team? What's his role?
It's growing. Again, Matt wasn't here all summer. We got him late as he was finishing his degree. I think the other thing that is, you know, he had some back issues early on in his time here. So I think he's just now. We're seeing him at his best. So I think players are starting to gain confidence in him. I think he's starting to assert himself a little more playing wise. Everybody likes Matt. Matt's a great kid and got a great personality. And you know, I think his is just maturation in terms of being with us. He's kind of the last one here. So, yeah, he's been where we want to go, and we need to be able to play off that experience.
Coach, back-to-back years in college basketball, losing legends like Warren Williams, Coach K, possibly Jim Boeheim next. Where's the landscape?
Jay Wright. We need to add Jay Wright to that.
Where's like the landscape of college basketball going with them not being a part of the game anymore?
Well, they're obviously great losses. You know, I throw Bob McKillop. You know, my goodness, the job he did at Davidson for years. You know, I think everybody decides when their time is, and it comes at different ages. Obviously, you got Coach Boeheim still going at it. You know, Tom's been doing it a long time. Anytime you lose greats, I mean, we're talking Hall of Famers, we're talking, you know, coaches that I grew up revering, and it's a loss for the game, and but it's also exciting. Let's find out who that next wave is. Let's find out who those next set of greats are, and I think I'm as excited for basketball ever. It's a new time. Transfer portal, NIL, all those things, and that fits with having kind of a changing of the guard. You know, you're starting to see Bob Huggins at the end. You know, some of those guys are getting closer, but it's a big loss. There's no doubt.
Coleman had some really good moments in the last season. Just what's the next step for him to make those maybe more consistent?
Yeah, you just said it, consistent. You know, I think Coleman's. I think the style of play we're moving towards this year fits him much better than it did with Kofi. His versatility early in the year, you know, obviously we didn't have Kofi last year. He excelled, and he's a high energy guy. He's a emotion, plays with emotion, and yet he's, I think, one of the best defenders, not just in our conference, in the country, and that has to be his identity. Is on that other side, and then pick his opportunities to be successful offensively. But he's a high IQ guy, and he's going to initiate a lot of things for us on the offensive end. So I'm excited for him, and that will, uh, you know, as he moves up the scouting report, the opponent's scouting report, I think there's some confidence that comes with knowing his role is a little different. Being here today, his role's a little different. He's got a little different air and a little different swag about him. So. He's really talented, and I think we're going to see a great year from him.
Any specific ways you challenged him this summer?
No, be consistent. Be consistent in your work ethic. Really simple, and you'll find that transition happen in the games. And you know, we've thrown a lot of leadership on him, and he's handled that, and it's been all positive.
Coach, who do you think is going to be the hardest player not on your team to prepare to guard this season?
Where's Zach? Have you seen him? Wow. No, he's a problem. He's a problem. But you can't physically match that size. There was a picture last year taken, and you couldn't see Kofi guarding him, and he was behind him, and he's a force. Now we've got to make it so it's hard for him to guard us. as well. We've got to be able to flip that script. But he's unique, and he's very talented. He's worked extremely hard to make himself a very good player, and he'll be a handful.
And then if you had the opportunity to coach one player from a different team, who would it be and why?
We're going to think about Connor McCaffrey. Connor McCaffrey. He and I'd have fun in a Pizza Hut parking lot with some opponents. He's a fighter. He's a tough guy. He's tough. I got a lot of respect for his competitive spirit, and he's just found a way to get better every year.
I know the turnaround didn't happen overnight for you guys when you took over. I'm curious if there were moments along the way that you think back to now that were really key in getting to the point where you could win the league, lose Io, win the league, lose Kofi, and still be picked in one or two in the league again.
Well, there's nothing easy about building, and I think the one thing that we didn't do was panic, and we stayed very true to what we were trying to do in the recruiting process. I had tremendous administrative support from Josh along the way. Not everybody fit, and we were able to flip it pretty quick. And yet, people forget that the second year here was the losingest year in the history of Illinois basketball. I was the head coach, and so I don't forget that. But I think we did it the right way. And with the character guys we went after, with the type of guys in terms of style of play we went after, we kept building and getting better. We got older, which helped, and I think we established our culture, and I think our culture speaks to why we're picked where we're picked, just as much as the talent. So it's not easy, but I think the one key was we never flinched when it came to how we were going to go about building it.
I know you adapted a lot, X's and O's wise, from earlier in your tenure to kind of fit what you were able to bring in and change and fit the Big Ten. You're adapting again, I think, stylistically a little bit this year with guys go through having to adapt recruiting and NIL and the portal and everything. I'm curious what it takes as someone who's as accomplished as you are, and in this spot. I think there's a lot of college basketball coaches who have their way of doing things. You've been so willing to change and adapt as you have this job for the last 5 years. I'm curious what goes into that mentality.
Yeah, I like to win. I like to win, and I think my years as a junior college coach, you've got to learn to be flexible. I know what we don't compromise in our program, and yet we've been planning for life without Kofi for a while, and it wasn't going to be the same way with him. We weren't going to go out and find another 7-footer that was 300 pounds. So how do we go about doing that? And what do those changes look like? And we went to get a bunch of positionless guys who are skilled, and we'll put a system together and find out how that works in the best league in the country.
Which is tournament success the next step for your program, and what have you learned from the last two NCAA tournament?
Just keep getting back. I think I look back in every program. We had a bad day against Loyola. They beat us. Last year we weren't very healthy, and that's not an excuse. Houston was good, and but I know this. You look back and take any great program along the way, along the journey, they've been beat. And you know what? All we can do is keep getting better. I'm not going to balance our growth by getting upset in the tournament or getting beat in the tournament. As long as they're upsets, I've been on the other side of those. Being a 14 and beating a 3, they happen. It's what makes it March Madness. But I know as long as we keep getting back in that situation, keep winning Big Ten championships, the tournament run will happen.
What kind of strides do you think the defense is going to make this year?
I think we're able to do more. I think we were really good at what we did, and in particular, that has a lot to do with ball screen coverage. Kofi was elite in terms of his drop coverage. We were number 5 in the country in ball screen efficiency and forcing hard shots. but that's all we could do. And I think this year we can do some other things and handle some coverages differently, and we'll do that. It's easy to say, well, you're going to get out and be aggressive. Well, we also have to be smart and not foul. Fouling is one of the main reasons we made the change to begin with. So we're you know we're dialing in on a few other things, and that box is a little bigger because we're pretty versatile.
Less than 10% of your efforts last year in transition, which was way lower than the previous years. How important is this team scoring in transition, getting 440 points this year in transition?
Yeah, we adapted last year. Obviously Andre Curbello's injury, and Kofi logged a ton of minutes. And again, when you have a guy like Kofi, we had to utilize it. And playing fast wasn't the best thing for us. We were not a great layup making team. We went from having one of the best layup makers in Io DeSumo to now we replace him with Alfonso Plummer, who was granted all league, but he was a 3-point shooter. So we played to that a little more. Getting back, we have Terrence Shannon, who might be as fast a player as I've coached. He's elite in the open court. Matthew can handle it. Coleman can handle it. Sky Clark, Jaden Epps, all of those guys have tremendous speed. Ty Rogers. So it's going to be back in play. It's something we'll analytically start studying back, trying to score under 7 seconds and take those easy opportunities when they're there.
As you mentioned, it's like frustrating for you not to be able to score in transition because there'd be games on the side that you're spinning your arm trying to get them to run in transition.
Yeah, it's probably who I am, but I also didn't want to. You play the best way you know to have to win, and that meant we couldn't do that. And yeah, there were opportunities. I thought we had chances to, but this team again became ingrained in not doing it. So yeah, we'll get back to that a little bit.
With Matt, I know you. Oh, sorry. I know he kind of talked about wanting to be Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. I know a lot of people talk about his offensive game, but what do you kind of see him offering you guys defensively?
Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good. He can be really, really good. He's shown days where he's been an elite 3-point shooter. He's a guy who can score in the post. He's an uncanny ball handler, and that he gets to his spots. And yet you look at his defensive numbers from last year and what he calls maybe not one of his best years. His block rate was high. His steal rate is high. He's a guy that has tremendous anticipation. He's got very quick hands. So he takes a lot of pride in that end. And when we recruited him, the one thing I knew was he was a very good defender. And so I was excited about that. He's been better than I thought on the offensive side. And he's a tough shot maker. I think he can have some big games for us on the offensive side, and but his mindset is really about the defensive side.
What you said, Jaden's been filling up in practice here recently. What have you seen from the summer till now? And what are some keys going forward to him to be as good as you want him to be?
Yeah, Jaden just has a knack. The ball goes in. I mean, I don't know how else to compare him to other than Frank Mason. He's just like him. His ball just finds the bottom of the net. His decision making's got to grow. There's no doubt about that. I tell him all the time he's always going to be one of the smaller guys on the court, so he's got to be one of the toughest guys on the court. He's got the ability to be a Trent Frazier-like defender. Doing that consistently is his challenge. So. Yeah, he's made huge improvements. He is a student of the game. He and Sky both, and Ty, all three of those freshmen live with film. And so I'm excited for not just Jaden, but Sky and Ty as well in terms of their ability to get better quickly.
I wanted to ask you, coming back in the summer, what your thoughts were when you heard about UCLA and USC.
Thoughts about UCLA and USC?
Yeah, I did backflips, and I mean that. And I had it was a matter of time, in my opinion, before expansion, if you want to call it, was going to happen. So preparing myself for the non-traditional conferences to happen. I grew up in the Big 8, and then it became the Big 12, and that was different. And then we saw schools leave, and so I'm ready for that. And so now I'm thinking Big 10, best league in the country, just got a whole lot better. And we got the LA market. From a very selfish standpoint, UCLA, the greatest program in my estimation because of John Wood, and now they're in our league. And then you add to the football side, and where our football team's going to play. I thought it was not just a home run. I thought it was a grand slam, and I'm excited for our league to have those two.
As a coach, and maybe you did this before, but does that open up your mind about thinking, well, maybe there's sort of a connection, or there's a California kid might be a little bit more inclined to come our way?
I think that all the time. That's one of the first thoughts. I think we know that recruiting is not just state by state anymore. I mean, we're going to go national, but that sure helps. And to have the two most powerful institutions in the state of California, maybe on the West Coast, joining our conference, sure, that adds opportunity. And when you can take kids back home, or even if it's a game or two, or sure, I think that way a lot.
Right. Alvin close to being finished. You have both national programs back in the state for the first time in a couple of years. What opportunity maybe synergy between Shauna and the staff
And the women's team.
Well, and I'm one of Shauna's biggest fans. I've said that with Brett on the football side. And if nobody can win in football at Illinois, if Brett can't do it, nobody will do it. And just being around Shauna, watching her practices, I know how she coaches. I know how she practices. We think a lot alike. And I think when you put, I think winning's one of the most contagious things there is. It becomes fun, and having like minds. And I told her the other day, I said, I want to come in, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk baseline outs because I need some help. And having somebody that wants to sit down and talk hoops with you and shoot the breeze and resolve things, that means a lot. And when you're in the same building, that relationship's got to be great. And not good, great. And that means a lot to me. And there's no doubt she's going to get Illini women's basketball cranked up just like we did.
Where's the overlap in terms of things you like basketball-wise?
Well, she's tough. Her team's guard. She's all about teamwork. You look at her teams, and winning's really hard, and she's done it at a very, very high level. But her teams are tough. We think the same way. We play very similar on the defensive side of things, but she's got a toughness, and that carries over, and that'll permeate out of Oven now is toughness.
How does football impact you guys?
Well, we can take recruits to the game now. That's why we need fans there. We need fans to show up. We got a big recruiting weekend coming up. And I'll be very honest, Jeremy, we haven't taken a lot of our recruits to games, depending on who we're up against. There's no doubt that creates a different buzz. It creates a different atmosphere. It's cool. It's fun to see. It excites our fans. It was the biggest game last Saturday that I've been a part of in my time, and it just had a different atmosphere. And man, when you can build that chemistry and that feeling, man, that fans love that. And I'm fired up for Brad. I'm fired up. They're doing it, in my opinion, the right way, and it fits our university. But it sure helps recruiting. There's no doubt about that. It helps everybody feel better about themselves.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Good job.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Hey, we'll have Josh will do kind of a mosh pit over here, the group when Sean is done. So I don't know what you want to call it. I can't call it.